My love of classic cars started when I was 17. My first car was an MG Midget, which my father brought for me, and it continued from there. Even though I've had lots of modern sports cars and got to the age of 50 having modern vehicles, I've always maintained having classic cars. I love British sports cars. That sort of evolved in 2016. I left my career of electronic security and started RBW Sports and Classics, where I started trading in classic cars and ended up with my unit in Shenstone here to do bodywork and improve vehicles. It was one of those improved vehicles, my own 66 MG Roadster, that my wife and I took a journey to the Cotswolds. The car parked outside a nice hotel, we were having lunch. The car was just swarmed by tourists, Japanese tourists, American tourists. People wanted to ask about the car, sit in the car. And that longevity of a beautiful looking car is global. Everybody loved it. It's a nice looking, beautiful vehicle. And on the way home from that visit to the Cotswolds, my wife said, I would love to have a car like this where everyone adores it, but I can't, you know, not reliable, no power steering. Why can't you build me one? And that's where it started. We came up with the idea to build an electric system that fits in classic vehicles, starting with a frame which replaces a differential in the rear of the car and batteries which replace the engine and gearbox. And then we sent off our design to a number of companies by email. The very next day we had an email back from Zytec, who are a business owned by Continental Engineering Services, unbeknown to me, only 6 miles up the road, and they liked our concept and a plan formulated to try and get a prototype vehicle.
Peter approached us with a blank piece of paper idea, and he needed assistance to try and integrate all of our technologies. Working with Peter's been a very interesting program in comparison to the manufacturers that we usually work with within the automotive sector. We've had to help his business grow in reality to come up to all the levels required to produce the quality standards that are required to produce a safe, new vehicle application. It's a fantastic program, developing something that's very close to a lot of our hearts in classic vehicles with a classic silhouette, but moving forward and developing that into modern integration of modern components, harnesses, and all of the elements that were potentially could be improved on a classic vehicle to make them more functional, more reliable, and make them more usable.
But that hasn't been the work of a moment. That's been 4 years of testing, homologation, testing at MIVA, to reach something called Regulation 100, which is the same test as a modern EV car will have, be it an Audi or a Tesla. So although our vehicles look old, the DNA underneath is brand new electric components. These are brand new electric cars. And our journey continues now as we put that infrastructure not into these cars but into other future cars.
This is designed based on conceptually being an electric vehicle from a blank piece of paper. The drivetrain, the electric drivetrain, is mounted in the rear of the vehicle in a position where the original rear axle, live rear axle was. The battery is integrated in the front area where the engine and gearbox was historically. This helps maintain the 50-50 weight distribution required for a sports vehicle. Here is the high voltage batteries. This is actually profiled to follow the transmission tunnel to maintain the weight ratio, so ultimately to mimic the original engine and gearbox. Within the interior is this displays and gauges here, which feed back all of the state of charge, all of the vehicle speed, and a lot of the displays that are required to meet legislation. There's an option for an extra battery cell to give more range if required. So this is one of the first production build vehicles that we're currently assembling. It has completely new designed braking system on, much larger discs, completely bespoke suspension setup. What we have here is the bespoke patented rear subframe cradle. Internal with that is the electric drivetrain. This is the underside of the battery.
RBW stands for Rose, Becky and Wes, my 3 children. And it really started as a fun business. We all have a passion for cars. We love cars, all of us, from my wife, my oldest daughter, down to my 13-year-old son, even my grandchildren now who love cars. We have a passion for it. So it's a family business. And yes, we're evolving and we're growing into a larger business, but it's all about how the cars make you feel. And that stems from how we feel in the business. We've got some great talented people and we mix old and new. So creating beautiful body shells and paintwork in-house is done by some very old skilled people that we have here. And we marry that to the latest technology. Hand-built electric cars. Who'd have thought that? In the best car making region in the world, in the Midlands.